Hey everyone, this is MrAddOil again, helping you fight your today for your better tomorrow. And in this video, we're going to be talking about how you should prepare for your coding bootcamp on the topic of what courses, what materials you should cover as a pre-work, as a mini coding bootcamp prior to your actual coding bootcamp. And we're going to be talking about that coming up. If you haven't had a chance, please look at my last video where I talk about the first best practice that you should implement prior to joining a coding bootcamp. This video series is all about preparation for your real coding bootcamp. And the first best practice that we talked about was self-preparation, starting with you, right? Where we talk about scoping out your why and then building those 7 habits. So if you haven't checked that out, please check that out prior to this video. In this video, we're going to be covering 2 concepts that I think is really powerful for you to empower you during your self-preparation for a coding bootcamp. And those 2 concepts are modular learning and big picture learning. So modular learning, actually we'll talk about big picture learning. This is all about project-based learning. Coding bootcamps are really powerful at doing that too, right? That's how their entire education business model is built upon, on that foundation of project-based learning. So coding bootcamps, they churn out students who can actually build live projects or real projects from scratch. And then during your coding bootcamp preparation, I call this the mini pre-work coding bootcamp, or we'll just call it mini coding bootcamp for now. You want to simulate the same environment or same type of practice, right? So that's where you should start off. Big picture learning, project-based learning. Second will be modular learning. And then the best way to do that is to use a resource called Udemy or other platforms where there's other developers giving out tutorials on how to build something. So my top picks will be Udemy, which would be a very affordable alternative to like taking a full pledged course. It's only like probably $10 to $20 to get a really good course on topics and technologies like React, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, tutorials that are project-based. And then I'll have a link to my blog post where there's a list of Udemy courses that I've taken in the past or I'm taking now while I'm participating in my coding bootcamp now as a refresher. So those are the courses that I took, which I thought to be really helpful. And then they practice these 2 concepts, right? They're project-based learning and they're modular. To talk a little bit more about modular learning, that's all about adapting to a situation. Like let's say in a traditional like classroom environment, it's very linear, right? Like on week 1, we're gonna be talking about maybe HTML. Week 2, we're going to be talking about CSS. Nothing wrong with that. It's great to have that linear progression on what topics you'll be covering next. But modular learning is about competency learning. So maybe when you get to a certain category of knowledge, right? Let's say you're actually tackling a programming language like JavaScript. You need more support, then you can leverage websites or platforms like Udemy and then just purchase some $10 project-based or theory-based JavaScript courses to help supplement your knowledge. This is super powerful because it allows you to take control of your own education, your own learning versus just following someone else's planned out steps. Great, so now that we talked about the 2 concepts of modular learning and project-based learning, we can talk about other things that you can do to prep yourself up while you're working your full-time job, preparing to transition to a full-time coding bootcamp or something like that. So first advice would be, I would recommend if you can learn from your 9-to-5 job, start learning on your 9-to-5 job. Like for me, I was fortunate to work for a tech company where the product was highly technical and complex. So I had to learn about APIs and how that works. So on my job, I was able to learn how to read an API in JavaScript and kind of have those technical conversations with CTOs, product managers, stuff like that. So I just found a good excuse on my job to learn more about code or to learn more about that technology, APIs, right? Another way you can learn on your job is if you're able, when you're doing like menial tasks like sending emails, stuff like that, instead of listening to music via Spotify or whatever, like listen to YouTube podcasts about coding or programming, right? Or listen to one of your Udemy courses that you purchased. Even though you're not really like focusing and learning and following along that video, but you can also enjoy that content via audio, right? And then this will help kind of, you might not grasp like everything, but you'll pick up on keywords and be like, oh, I picked up on a keyword, maybe like a for loop, and then I figured out, or I just grasped that concept that it does this function. And then if you get that nugget during that day, then it stacks up exponentially as you keep practicing this for a long period of time. So I recommend doing that. Next, I would recommend you start off with free resources, right? The best free resource for learning how to code and program is FreeCodeCamp. So they're a nonprofit that helps train people to program so that they can help other nonprofits with programming type of related projects or works. And they're a very powerful online learning platform because they have a really robust curriculum. It's self-paced. And even now in my current coding bootcamp with Thinkful and Block, I refer to coding bootcamp, free CodeCamp all the time for their JavaScript algorithm practices or anything. And I think it's a great place to start when you're an absolute beginner, but it's also a good place to revisit even when you're still learning in an actual coding bootcamp like I am. Cool, that's it for this video. Like I said, there will be a link to my blog post for this section on learning materials to prepare for your coding bootcamp. And in my blog, there's a list of Udemy courses that I've taken where you could choose to purchase them if you think it'll be valuable for you, right? And I mean, that's all I have for this video. Again, this is MrAddOil helping you fight your today for your better tomorrow. And I'll see you in the next video.